So 2 days ago, I fought a forest fire in my bare feet. And I know that that sounds outrageous and weird, but every year the family, we go up to the cottage and we try and get like as far north and as far away from society as possible. We were like an hour past cell phone service on this gorgeous, gorgeous lake. And I took the Starlink so I could still work, I know. But anyways, we're sitting there in the cabin house. And all of a sudden, I look across the lake, which is boat access only, and there's this little wisp of white smoke going up into the air. And I thought, oh, that's really weird. And I'm not a lake person, so I don't really know what's normal and what's not. And then I hear all this commotion. So I go out and I look down, and one of the neighbors who we'd gotten to know pretty well was just like running down the beach to his boat and just yelling, fire, fire. And so I look at Robin and I'm like, let's go. So I run down to the boat, get in the boat, leave the kids and Robin at the house, and just go to where this smoke is. I pull up in the boat, throw the anchor off. I'm also not much of a boater. Like, I have my boating license and I drive boats, but I'm not like a emergency services prepared boat driver, right? So like, I drive in and it's the boathouse that is at this point fully engulfed in flames. And so I throw the anchor out, hop off the back of the boat. I've got 2 buckets with me, and I climb up out of the water onto the section in between the main house and the boathouse that's on fire. And I think I was like the 3rd or 4th guy on the ground. And we just started bailing buckets of water and throwing them on this boathouse. And to give you an idea, it's like a boathouse with a loft on top of it that's big enough for a full-size boat and a full-size office. It's not a small structure. And the wind comes off of the lake and like pounds this lake house with the wind, and it just fireballs up and like shoots this fireball out into the woods that's behind the boathouse. Well, we're in the middle of nowhere, so there's no like, just everything lights on fire. The trees are flammable, right? Like, I'm learning a lot through this experience. But anything that's already dead just basically instantaneously catches on fire. So this fire goes from the boathouse and just starts into the forest. And so if you ever want to feel insignificant, take a 5-gallon bucket and throw it on a 20-foot flame that's going up a 40-foot tree that's 100 years old. It's like, this is not gonna go well. And all of a sudden I have this realization, like, I'm standing in the middle of the woods, fighting a fire with a bucket, and my family is across the lake, and I've never fought in a fire before, right? And so this other boat shows up, and this guy jumps out with a generator and a pump and a fire hose. And so we get this thing going, and all of a sudden we got a fire hose. Now we got a fire hose going up the one side of the fire. Another boat shows up with another family. They also have one of these generators with a pump with a fire hose on it. So they dump their boat on the other side of the boathouse, and they're starting the fire hose on the other side. So now we've got like 10 or 15 people. We got this chain of buckets that are going, dumping buckets on the back of the boathouse to try and stop the fire from going further. And we got a fire hose on either side. So fast forward a little bit, the boathouse collapses. And when it does, it like shoots this big wavy fireball out the back end sides of this thing. And all of the sides, none of the fire spread because everything was already soaked and wet, but it just like shoots out the back. And so we go back to the forest on either side, and we're like pulling hose through the bush and just dousing everything that we possibly can. But literally these trees are on fire, and the dead ones that got engulfed started falling over because they're dead, burnt trees, right? So it's like incredibly dangerous. Nobody was hurt, thank God. It was, and I mean that in the true literal sense of like, thank God nobody was hurt, because it was insane. And everybody that was there was just people from the community that saw the smoke. And they have, I learned all this later, but on the lake, they have like 8 or 9 of these generators with fire hoses that are strategically placed around the lake so that there is a fire. The residents know where to go, get these things, and go to the firehouse. So by the end, there's probably 40 people. And it is a mixture of teenagers, women, men, everybody's in like cottage gear. So there's literally a guy on a ladder up a tree putting out a fire on the top of one of these like massive pine trees, barefoot, board shorts, no shirt, fire hose. Like legitimately, there was a guy who was in the ashes that had burned out the back of the thing because there was this massive tree, and if it fell over, it was going to be a really big problem. So he starts walking in. Well, he's barefoot, so I gave him my flip-flops, so then I'm barefoot going back into the woods. So all of this is happening. Somebody calls 911, and the forestry service shows up in a helicopter. So all of a sudden, we've got, at this point, 5 of these water hoses going, true fire hoses that are pulling water out of the lake. Everything's being hosed down. We contain the fire out the back because we're able to get enough hoses eventually that we can start hosing off the forest at the back and condensing the fire back to the thing. And it all got contained. And it was this surreal, outrageous experience of standing there in the, like, still smell like smoke. And you're just like, so I love to surf. And every single time I go in the ocean, I am humbled by the power of the ocean and the water and how insignificant we truly are with it. Fire is another great humbler of me as a human being, because you realize truly how insignificant you are to stop a problem like that. But, and here's the point, without any real hesitation, all of these people that may or may not like the person in that lake house, right? And I'm not saying that there was any of that going on, but the community came together and people risked their lives to go help a stranger and save the fire. Woods, right? And it reminded me of the mortgage industry and what we do here, because it's not always easy and it's not always fun. But we're always in this together. And that's why I host the Loan Officer Podcast. If you go to loanofficerpodcast.com, it's the Loan Officer Marketing Podcast. But if you go to loanofficerpodcast.com, you can register. And I've had 57, I think, of the top 100 loan officers in the nation on the show. And I try and ask every single one of them, like, what are you doing to bring in business right now? And I have never had one of those top producers be like, nah, you know what, man, that's my trade secret. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell the industry. Every single person that gets to that level of success happily, joyfully shares what they're doing so that you can follow along in the footsteps. And we have this incredible, amazing community. But we have to come together if we're going to be stronger. And I hope that you do that. I hope that you help the others in the industry. Loan Officer Breakfast Club. We meet every Monday through Friday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Free training hosted by the Mortgage Marketing Animals and myself. I host Fridays. And it's just an incredible community of people coming together, sharing what works, and just encouraging each other in the industry and keeping everybody focused on like what actually works. So we're all safe. We're all happy. There'll be some photos probably that the team has put over this video. But just remember, like, the people that you love, reach out to them. Tell them that you love them and make the extra effort to engage in your community and be a part of your community, because as human beings, we are better together. Much love. I'll see you in the next video.